Literally, he's just using you as a toy. He then says to me he does have a fantasy and it's to film him fucking his uncle's wife. Yeah, that's enough Reddit for now. Hi babes, my name is Moran. Welcome to my series Getting Personal, where I gather different stories from Reddit. And today we are going to be discussing some spicy issues, some sex-related stuff. And it's very fitting that today I am feeling a bit spicy myself, and my hair is a mess and I am a mess. So let's just dive in and see what's going on. So the first one comes from relationship advice, and it is my 28 female boyfriend, 32 male, has gotten better at sex, but I'm not happy about why. Should I talk to him about it? My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years. Generally, everything is great, except for one issue which I suspect I'm not alone in. When it comes to foreplay is definitely lacking. It's not non-existent, but oral on me is generally not part of it. He doesn't demand oral in return or anything, so I've mostly let it go, but it does bother me a little. I figured nobody's perfect, it's not a deal breaker for me, so like I said, I didn't really bring it up as an area of concern. Anyway, lately that has changed a lot. He started going down on me not only every time we have and for long periods of time. On a good day it's about 20 seconds, but randomly when I least expect it. The other day he did it when I came home from work and I was definitely not in the state I'd prefer to be in to receive oral. It had been a good 18 hours since my last shower. I asked him what's going on and he said he just realized he likes doing it. Now obviously I was a bit suspicious, because what are the odds that at 32 he suddenly starts liking something he's never liked with zero outside influence? Honestly, at this point I thought he might be cheating on me. But then I made the mistake of using his computer to find this video I made of our recent vacation. I used his computer for it because he has video editing software that I don't have on mine, and his iMessages are attached to his computer. I started seeing messages from his friends coming in about how's the eating resilience going, and I'm like, what resilience? Anyway, curiosity got the better of me and I scrolled up on their conversation, and apparently they're all devoted fans of the Huberman Lab podcast. Not sure if everyone here knows about it, but I've known he was a fan for a while. I listen to it sometimes too, and there's an episode about building resilience, and one of the main takeaways is that you need to do something you don't enjoy for increasingly long periods of time, like cold plunges or strenuous workouts, etc., in order to build resilience. So he's going down on me a lot, specifically because he doesn't like it and he thinks it's enough of a hardship to build resilience. I'm really hurt and embarrassed, but at the same time he didn't really do anything wrong. Like, he didn't cheat on me and he hasn't told me any of this, so I can't accuse him of making me feel bad. But it's really taken the pleasure out of it, because now all I can think about is how much he hates doing this and how the entire time he's imagining Dr. Huberman and his hardship or whatever. Anyway, I'm stuck on whether I should bring this up to him. It obviously looks bad that I snooped, I don't know. I'm just extremely embarrassed and not sure what to do. Should I talk to him about it or let it go? Before I say anything else, I just really gotta note, 20 seconds, it's considered for long periods of time? Girl, that man needs to build resilience in a very different area. Anyway, that is not the point in here. So the point is, should you talk to him about it or not? Obviously, that you snooped is wrong, but it was also accidental. It's not like you went on his phone and tried to read his messages. And yes, he didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but it's like, now that you know, and it's very unfortunate that you know, but I would also be happy to find out something like this because, you think that your partner is trying to make you happier and do something that is nice for you. And then you kind of figure out that his motivation for this is some podcast resilience training and he actually hates it. I would be very upset as well. It's like if I would cook something nice for my husband and do it for a long period of time and then be like, oh yeah, I kind of hate cooking and I despise doing it for you, but I decided to do resilience training. It's the motivation that kind of takes away the result. I do think you could bring this up to him because whether you snooped or didn't snoop, or whether it was accidental or intentional, we come down to now, and it's never going away. So you will be hurt in the future when he's gonna try to keep on with his resilience training, and you might like subconsciously or even consciously express your displeasure in way more like aggressive or passive aggressive ways and create even more problems for the relationship by not talking about it. So it's probably the healthier option to like let him know. I would be furious if I found out that my husband does something in a sexual way to me that he hates, but he does it because of some podcast, and then he also discusses all of this with his friends. So like they're all in on this joke of him hating going down on you. That is just a yikes thing to do. So yeah, definitely do talk. But this situation overall, from all perspectives, just sucks because clearly this is something that is going to be a point of contention for a long time. And let's see another story. This one is also from Relationship Advice. My 24 female boyfriend, 25 male, looks at photos of other naked women during sex. Is this something we can work through? I, 24 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 25 male, for about a year now. We live together. There's been some issues, but our love for each other has always won. When it comes to this issue, though, I don't know how we are going to have a healthy sex life. I'm hurt. He has a high sex drive, and I do too, but I've noticed quite a few times when he's behind me, he has his phone in his hand. I had a feeling I knew he was looking at porn, but I didn't want to ruin the moment, so I just put it out of my mind. I want him to have pleasure, but it's bothered me because we are in a monogamous relationship and I don't think about other men that way, only him. I know I'm not the only woman in the world and I'm fine if he watches porn, but it feels different when we are actually having sex. Like he'd rather be with someone else and he's just using me as a flashlight. There's been times where I accidentally saw his phone during sex or after and saw some random woman's naked photo. Many of them on the Twitter threads he frequents. He's done it many times, and today I decided to tell him how worthless and unloved and unattractive it makes me feel. He initially got really defensive and was yelling at me. He said he didn't have a porn addiction, but the video he has of us having sex get boring, and our third round he needs something extra. I just wish he was present with me during sex because to me it's a sacred moment for us to connect deeply. He is more than enough for me sexually, but apparently I'm not for him. I'm heartbroken. He decided to delete Twitter and he's trying to make it right, but I really don't believe that this won't lead to cheating if he's repressing the desire he has. I feel so used. I want to understand why he did this and to be fair, but I can't wrap my head around it. I asked him if I did the same, how he'd feel, and he admitted it would be terrible. But he apparently had no idea it would be disrespectful. I just want to figure out how to get over this. You don't get over this, you get over the boyfriend. I'm sorry, but that man has to be ditched. Either he is a literal child or he is intentionally pretending to be stupid, because what the do you mean he didn't know it would be disrespectful, yet he admits it would be terrible if you did this to him? Like, he knows it's disrespectful. I feel like any kind of grown human knows that, like, when you're having sex with your long-term partner, especially, it's horrendous to, like, flip out the phone and look at the pictures of other people. And you said all you had to say in this sentence, he's just using me as a fleshlight. Literally, he's just using you as a toy. He doesn't really need you to be there. This is just beyond ridiculous, and you shouldn't put up with this. It's just wild that you also say that you didn't say anything because you didn't want to ruin the moment, but like, he's looking at other women and at while having sex with you without discussing it beforehand and knowing that you probably won't be very happy about it. So he already ruined the moment. He didn't even create the moment, I feel like. So just leave that piece of garbage. So yeah, I don't think it's something that is worth getting over and trying to work on, because this level of absolute disregard for you shows a lot about how he sees you in his life in general, not only in sex. And also, I loved this moment of, he said he didn't have a porn addiction, but what he's doing is the definition, I feel like, of a porn addiction in an extreme way, because it's like you cannot have intercourse, you cannot have sexual intimacy without needing that hit of like porn or other women or other stimulation. Yikes, ditch the boyfriend. Let's move on to the next story, which is, am I the asshole for kink shaming my husband? This is honestly the weirdest and most frustrating problem I've ever had in my whole life. My husband, male 35, and I, female 27, have been married for almost 2 years. About 5 months ago, I moved jobs. I work in an office now that is very much an old-fashioned place, and coming from a modern business, it was kind of a switch for my wardrobe. I came from a place where business casual could be black jeans and a sweater as long as it was something professional, to my office now, which is business professional, and I'm basically required to wear heels and a dress every day. My boss, a woman in her 60s, had been giving me a weird look, and I realized it was because I wasn't wearing tights like the other girls, so I started wearing tights. I'm talking about those sheer black ones that go under dresses. I wore them for a while, but I hate the feeling of them digging into my torso, so I started wearing the ones that go up to mid-thigh, but obviously you can't tell the stocking kind from the outside. Immediately, my husband became infatuated with them. I mean, he loved them. He wanted to watch me dress and undress. He wanted to have sex with me after work literally twice as much. He always wanted me to wear them. I thought it was kind of cute or funny at first, but now it's become a huge problem. My husband literally will not instigate sex with me unless I'm wearing the stockings. He's asked me several times on the weekends to put them on before we have had sex. He genuinely has zero interest in sex with me without the stockings anymore. He also seems to be getting a bit jealous that I'm wearing them to work, but that's the function of them, not a sexy costume literally for work. Somehow he lost sight of that. So finally, last night, when I wanted to have sex and he asked me to put them back on, I said no and told him that his new infatuation with them was getting out of hand. He immediately got very defensive and told me I was kink shaming him. Obviously, I'm not kink shaming him. I'm just annoyed beyond measure with this whole situation. Am I the asshole for telling him his kink was getting out of hand and subsequently shaming him? Not the asshole. This is not kink shaming. He was just getting defensive because he probably felt uncomfortable and attacked by your comment, but you did nothing wrong. Those little kinks are great, wonderful if your partner is able to accommodate them. It's all great and good fun, and if y'all are fine with what's happening, then it's a great way to, like, you know, make your sex life more fun. But if you are, I'm sorry for the shaky camera, my cat was just walking around here, but like, if he needs tights to feel attracted to you at all times now, then it's becoming a problem, and you're in the right to tell him that, because this is a little bit alarming. I would also be uncomfortable if my husband only wanted me when I put tights on, and like even asked me to put them on every single time, because it starts to seem that he's having sex with you for the tights, not for you. And yeah, I would also be hurt. I would also be like, dude, cannot we do it without it for a change? Definitely not the but y'all should have more conversations about it and figure out how to go about this whole problem without him getting defensive. Maybe he will get over it in a few conversations because, you know, initial reactions of people when they get hurt and they feel attacked and stuff like that can be extreme, but maybe he will understand your point in further discussions. Let's move to the next story. Am I the for being upset about my husband's sexual fantasy? Just to get to the point, my 34 female husband, 28 male, were chatting and the subject about our sexual fantasies came up. I was very hesitant to tell him mine, but he insisted. I told him my fantasy was to have a threesome with me and 2 bisexual men. Even before I met him, I've always had this fantasy. I've had the opportunities to act upon them, but never had the courage. My husband seemed put off but said it would never happen. He's Muslim, and though he doesn't mind the gay community, it's not his cup of tea. I'm sure you get it. I then asked him about his fantasy, which he replied he doesn't really have one. We left it at that. Today the subject came up again. I joked with him and said he thinks different of me because of my weird fantasy. He then says to me he does have a fantasy and it's to film him his uncle's wife. I was like, wow, I was really upset. I'm unsure why I feel this way. I haven't been ignoring him, but he knows I'm upset. He apologized and said he'd never bring it up again, but it's too late. I feel like if the opportunity presented itself, he'd do it since it's someone he knows. I know it's a fantasy, but like, am I wrong? I just feel put off. It's like me having a fantasy of my sister's husband. I'm sure he'd be upset. Can anyone help me out here and just change my mind? Thanks. Yeah, the problem is you don't need to change your mind because this is awful. Not the whatsoever. A fantasy is having a threesome or having sex on the plane or having sex in public, blah blah blah. It's all like abstract things, but his fantasy is very much oddly specific, not to mention completely and wildly inappropriate. It's like he wants to film himself his aunt. What in this first of all? Second of all, like, again, it's very, very specific. And it is like you saying you want to your sister's husband, or like you saying, I want to your best friend, for example. Anyone would be upset because now you will see that person and you will think, oh, my husband really gets off to the thought of you and filming it. I don't think you should change your mind because it's not about your opinion, right? It's about your feelings, and you are very right to feel hurt by this. The top comment in here is that's enough Reddit for now. And I agree. When I read this for the first time, I was like, yeah, let's just move on to a different story. Am I the for crying when my boyfriend told me I was too wet? I feel a bit dumb having to post this, but it's been bothering me for so long, and I don't really have a friend to talk about this with, at least not a friend who would understand. So I, female 21, have been with my boyfriend, male 26, for 11 months. Before him, I had never had a boyfriend or had slept with anyone before. Because of this, I was kind of shy when we first started to have sex. My boyfriend really stressed the importance of being honest and open with him, and he kind of made me share my likes and dislikes with him. Well, it was embarrassing at the time. I do appreciate it because I wouldn't have done it otherwise. Anyway, all of that is to say that he has literally ingrained in me to ask for what I want if I want it. I enjoy giving him oral a lot, so I would always ask and always get a resounding yes. A few days ago, we were kissing and I asked him if he could please go down on me that day. He has before and I really like it, but I have to be really in the right state of mind. And I was. My boyfriend said yes, but as soon as he was down there, he said no. I said why, and he was such an when he answered. He was like grossed out and told me I was too wet. I was so embarrassed and upset when he said this that I just didn't want to have sex anymore. It was the tone of voice he used too. He was grossed out. I felt gross. We usually have to use lube, so I think he was used to me being more dry. I'm not sure. Anyway, it made me really insecure and I ended up crying. I know that's quite dramatic, but I'd never been straight up rejected like that. My boyfriend got super annoyed with me and told me I was being a drama queen and an asshole about it because I didn't want to have sex again after that. Am I the asshole for not wanting to continue? Was I being dramatic? Is being too wet a turn off I just didn't know about? No to all of those questions, and your boyfriend is in the wrong. Being too wet, I don't even know what that means, but like, even if you were like really, really wet, that's a good thing. No, I mean, like, it's a sign that you're turned on, that you're happy with what's happening, everything is great, and he was grossed out by that. So it's a turn off for him when you are really turned on. I mean, I get it if he's just, grossed out and he doesn't want to do it, even though it's for a very strange reason. He has the right to, feel that, but you also have the right not wanting to continue sex after that. And also, he told you in a quite hurtful way because you said it was the tone of voice. The whole situation is super weird, to be honest. I don't think in my nearly 30 years of life I've ever heard about people being turned off by a girl who is too wet. Like, that is just counterproductive and goes against all of the logic and nature. Let's see the last story for today. It's also from Relationship Advice. My boyfriend, 29 male, insists that I, 23 female, get labiaplasty since he feels that it takes too much effort for him and the intimate act is not the same anymore. How should I tell him that it's not me, it's him, because I do not feel like faking anymore? I, 23 female, have been with my boyfriend, 29 male, for almost 2 years. We met in college when I was completing undergrad studies and he was in postgrad school. We started dating and continued the relationship even after graduation. I am young and naive as I was back then. I thought it was exciting to be with someone different, someone smarter and more accomplished than I was, so I started dating this guy outside of my age group. We used to sleep together sometimes twice a day, but it involved me faking it to enhance his experience. I would scream, call him daddy, and the usual dirty talk, and that gave him the illusion that he performed really well. I truly wanted to please him, and he was thrilled with our relationship because people around him labeled him as some kind of sex god, from his neighbors hearing my screams to his friends that he bragged to. I thought that one day it would get better for me as well, since he would want to try something different eventually. However, I have stopped faking it because I feel that he is not making any serious effort to please me in bed and does not last long if I scream and do the dirty talk. Now he complains that my lady bits have become loose and misshapen from too much action, and our intimate moments are not the same as before. He insists that I get labiaplasty to address my so-called physical problems. However, the issue is that he never goes down on me for more than a few minutes and expects me to do all the work. How should I tell him that it's not me, it's him? Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, so let's start with the root of the issue. First problem here is that yes, he doesn't put in any effort to make you feel better, but it's kind of a grave of your own making. And I feel like women do this a lot. I personally used to do this when it's like you're just trying to make the partner feel better, so you just kind of start faking it. But like when you start faking it, there is no going back. So the further this whole thing snowballs, the more you are, and not in a good way, because you cannot exactly come out 2 years in and say that you've been faking everything, you don't enjoy it, and you didn't like the sex, you were just trying to make him feel better, because that's gonna break his tiny little ego. And yeah, it's kind of like a dead end you put yourself into. So I feel like there are only two ways of going about talking to him. One is half truthful, so you say, it's not necessarily my loose lady parts, I'm gonna address that a bit later. It's that we all grow and change, and I think I would like a bit more effort from you. I think I would like more going down time. I would like to see you try to please me more, and explain this to him and make it clear that what you have going now is great, but you would like to take it to the next level. You could be also very truthful, so that's the second option, and you could own up to your mistakes and say that, yes, I was wrong and I was faking, and then I didn't know how to confess, and it just snowballed, went out of control, and then communicate from there. But that's the option for very stable relationships, I feel like, because not all dudes will be able to handle that information, process it, and be willing to forgive, forget, and move on. So yeah, it's up to you how you go about this. But also, excuse me, this is a 29-year-old man in post-grad, mind you, so he's not completely uneducated, right? Who thinks that your 23-year-old vagina became loose because of too much action, and that's where your problems lie, and that you have to get an operation to fix it? He needs to learn so much more about female anatomy, and he comes off as a complete idiot in here. Just wow, impressive. Always impresses me how like grown, sort of educated men will be super ignorant about female anatomy and then also think they're sex gods. Please ask him to go and learn more about female genitalia and generally about female anatomy, and tell him to shut the fuck up and stop telling you to get an absolutely not necessary operation, because I'm sure that your lady bits are fine, and even if they became looser, which actually happens to all the women with age, it can be fixed with exercising, if you of course want to do that. But I'm pretty sure it's not the problem. The problem is him not putting in any effort and thinking he is the literal sex machine. So yeah, y'all need to fix that, and he does need to get more educated, at least in this regard. Anyway, let me know what you thought about these issues. I was impressed by just the collection of various wild issues that people have. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for watching, if you're still here, though I doubt it. And I will see you with the next episode in a couple of weeks. Bye.